There will be sharks. Sleepy, sleepier, sleepiest. Not Stink had to wait. Wait and wait and wait some more for Mom and Dad to come home from their fancy dance. Chloe, the babysitter, was popping popcorn in the kitchen, trying to stay awake is worse than holding your breath underwater. Stink told Judy, he yawned. Why don't you just go to bed? Judy asked. Because Mom and Dad went to a thingy. A fundraiser thingy? And it raises money for your heart. So they got to bid on prizes and they might win stuff. And if they win the best prize, I get a trip to Montpelier. Stink yawned. The capital of Vermont. No, not Vermont. James Madison's house, right here in Virginia. I should have known, said Judy. You get to cook on a fire and dig for old stuff. Stink yawned some more. And make a brick. Vermont would be cooler, said Judy. Vermont has teddy bears and maple syrup and Vermontosauruses. Stink did not hear a word Judy said about Vermont. He had fallen asleep right smack dab in the middle of the family room floor, curled up next to Charlie, Creepy Puppet, Astro, Guinea Pig, Toady, Toad, and Mouse, Cat, and Hoodoo, Voodoo, Jillipmesh, and Fred, Yarn Zombies. Chloe came back with the popcorn. Aw, he looks so sweet when he's asleep. A sleeping Stink is a good thing, said Judy. We're home, called Mom and Dad. Anybody up? Stink popped up as if he'd never been asleep. Did we win? Mom rubbed her feet. Dad took off his tie. Mom hung up her handbag. Dad and Mom said goodbye to Chloe. Chloe waved goodbye to Judy. And Stink looked from Mom to Dad. So, did we win? Did we? We won, said Dad. I won an antique doorstop. Stink's face fell. Dad's kidding, said Mom. I won an autographed cookbook. What? Said Stink. The only thing worse than a doorstop is a cookbook. Goodbye, Vermont, said Judy. Hello, Meatloaf. So no trip to James Madison's house? Asked Stink. We did win a trip, said Dad, but not to James Madison's house, said Mom. Stink's heart sank. To where, then? The aquarium, said Mom in a much too chipper voice. Stink's shoulders sank. The aquarium? The aquarium is not Montpelier. The aquarium is not James Madison's house, although you could say James Madison is sleeping with the fishies. Dad joked. But this trip, said Mom, is a sleepover. Uh-oh, Judy said under her breath. You get to see the aquarium after it closes, said Dad, and spend the night. Double uh-oh, Judy mumbled. You sleep there the whole night? Stink asked. Till the next morning? Stink's afraid of sleepover, said Judy. Am not, said Stink. What about the time you tried to sleep over at Webster's and his glow-in-the-dark Star Wars poster freaked you out so bad you came home at 8 o'clock? So, Vader was staring a hole right through me. And the sleepover at Grandma Lou's, the time you heard a ghost, there really was a chipmunk in her attic. And Stink, you were scared too. Kids, Dad warned. Besides, said Stink, I was only 7 then. You're still 7, 7 3/4. Stink turned to Mom and Dad. Will there be sharks? He said eagerly. There will be sharks, said Dad. Stink took in a breath. Yippee, he yelled. A shark sleepover? No fair, said Judy. How come I never got to go on a big deal fancy sleepover? We'll tag along too. Dad told Judy, it's for the whole family. Double yippee, said Judy, and Stink can invite a friend, said Mom. Stink ran upstairs. He came back with his arms full of stuff, shark stuff. What is all this junk? Judy asked. It's for the big sleepover. There's my shark sleeping bag, and Leroy, my stuffed tiger shark that I use for a pillow sometimes, and my big mouth book of sharks. Is that all? Judy teased. Oh yeah, I can't forget to wear my shark tooth necklace. The sleepover's not till Friday, said Dad. So Stink ran upstairs again and came back wearing slippers on his hands. Check it out, shark slippers. Just then the phone rang. Judy answered it. After a little while, she said, Stink, it's for you. For me? Who is it? It's Sophie, the shark sleepover stealer, Judy whispered. Huh? Stink grabbed the phone. Hello? Guess what? Said Sophie of the elves. I just found out I won a trip to the aquarium, a sleepover. But I just won a trip to the aquarium, said Stink. I know. My mom said there were 2 prizes. We both won. And guess who I'm inviting? Webster. I was going to invite Webster too, said Stink. Yay, so all 3 of us get to go on the sleepover together. Sweet, said Stink. Stink slipped the shark slippers on his feet. This time, he rubbed his shark tooth necklace. Shark sleepover, here we come. Shark sleepover time. Finally, it was Friday, shark sleepover night. When the Moody's got to the aquarium, Stink spotted Webster right away. He was waiting outside with Sophie of the elves. Sophie's mom and her little sister, Sophie. Webster, yelled Stink. Sophie waved, holding her big head, book of elves, fairies, mermaids, pixies, and other wee folk in one hand, and her little sister Mimi's hand in the other. The Moody's joined them in line. Stink hauled his shark sleeping bag under one arm and slung his backpack stuffed to the gills with shark stuff over his shoulder. What did you bring, Webster? Stink asked. I brought goldfish and critter concentration in case we got bored, a bologna sandwich and sachets of ketchup in case I get hungry, and one of my hug uglies in case I get scared. Wow, you thought of everything. I also brought my blue shark tooth fairy pillow, said Webster. He grinned, wiggling his loose a tooth for his friends to see. For my loose tooth. Your loose tooth, Stink, and Sophie cracked up. It's hard to say loose tooth when you have a loose tooth. The letter S came out funny. They cracked up again. This way, I'm ready for the tooth fairy in case my you know what falls out tonight, and the you know where. Whoa, did you know sharks lose around 35,000 teeth in their lifetime? Stink asked. That's a lot of tooth fairy, said Webster. If we were sharks, we'd be rich, said Stink. Sophie's little sister poked Stink. You're Stinky, said Mimi. I'm Stink, said Stink. Not Stinky. Stinky, 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 said Mimi, dancing around in circles in her tutu. Are you ready for the shark sleepover? Asked Webster. Don't say shark around you know who, said Sophie, nodding at Mimi. Well, don't say sleepover around you know Stink, said Judy. Stink gave Judy a stop saying I'm afraid of sleepovers in front of my friends look. Tons of people crowded outside the side entrance. There were kids and families, Cub Scouts and Brownie troop and football team. Webster nudged Stink and nodded to a group of noisy girls holding sleeping bags. Oh no, said Stink. It's Riley Rottenberger. Quick, make yourselves invisible. But it was too late. Riley came over. Hey, who knew you guys were going to be here? We knew, said Stink. But what are you doing here? I'm here with my Finns group. She waved a bunch of girls over. This is Hannah, Anna, Emma, Olivia, and Maisie. Finns? Asked Sophia. Friends in nature study, said Riley. But you hate nature, said Stink. Emma and Maisie looked shocked. Do not, said Riley. Well, maybe outside nature, but this is inside nature. This is our third Finn sleepover, said one of the Finns. Our last one was a flower power sleepover at the Flower Palace, said Riley. Uh-huh, said Stink, nodding. He craned his neck, trying to see through the glass doors in the aquarium. We saw plants that ate bugs. Uh-huh, Stink said was hardly listening, and made duct tape flowers. Uh-huh, and we ate worms and dirt. Huh? Said Stink. Gotcha, said Riley. It was really gummy worms and chocolate pudding. Riley turned to her friends. Stink is my study buddy from school, she told the Finns. Right, Stink? Stink gulped. I am. He likes Pluto and stuff, Riley told them, and we like to bug each other. As Stink, you bug me. Yuck, yuck, yuck. See, isn't he funny? Riley cackled. Hey, guess what, Stink? I've got a good game for you. It's called Would You Rather. Would you rather freeze your butt off on Pluto at minus 300 degrees or get your insides sucked out by a giant sea anemone? Riley's friends giggled. Webster shivered. Sophie made a sour ball face. Riley Rottenberger, said Stink. With friends like you, who needs anemones? As soon as the aquarium doors opened, all the sleepover groups rushed inside. Tour guides and blue aquarium t-shirts passed out name tags and packs of information. Stink, said Dad, we'll go with Sophie's family to stake out a good spot. For our sleeping bags, Judy, do you want to stay with Stink and his friends? Second graders? No way, said Judy, shaking her head. Have fun, Stink, said Mom. We'll catch up with you later. Stink, his friends, and the other group sat on the floor in the center of the rotunda, just outside the turtle terrarium. A milky green sea turtle with a lost flipper munched on a head of lettuce. My name is, well, you can call me Miss D, said the tour guide. Tonight we'll explore a touch pool together and go on a sea creature scavenger hunt. There will always be an indoor campfire with snacks later. I'll be your guide for the evening. If you have questions, just ask me or anybody with a blue t-shirt on. Will there be sharks? Asked Stink. There will be sharks, said Miss D. Do we really have to go to sleep? Asked Riley. Yes, you really have to go to sleep, but not till we've had a fun evening. What does the D stand for? Asked Sophie. Excuse me? Your name, Miss D. Does the D stand for dolphin? D is not for dolphin. Is it for dungeon? How about dragon? Asked Webster. Sorry, said Miss D. Now, if you'll all follow me, we'll start with sharks, asked Stink, crossing his fingers. Please say sharks. Touch pool, said Miss D. Follow me to the Starfish Enterprise. They left the sea turtles and went past the gift shop. Stink could hear dolphins splashing in the next room. As they came to the large open tanks, groups of kids peered into the tide pools. Starfish clung to rocks. Anemones waved tentacles. Crabs skittered and snails slithered. Baby octopus, Webster shouted, but the octopus was just a rock with spots. False alarm, he said. See all these shells, said Sophie. Are those hermit crabs? Sure are, said Miss D, picking one up. Tiny red legs, one big purple claw, and two antennae poked out of the shell. Hermit crabs are my favorite, said Sophie. Just then, Mimi ran up to Sophie. Crabby, 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 she said, pointing. These guys are ocean hermit crabs, Misty told everybody. Do they change shells? Asked Sophie. They sure do. When they get too big for their shells, they find a bigger home to move into, like an empty snail shell. But sometimes a hermit crab can't find a shell and it moves into something like an old can or bottle. I had a hermit crab, Riley talked a mile a minute. Once my dad dropped his pen lid in the tank and the hermit crab used it for his home. Is that true? Asked Stink. Riley Rottenberger told tall tales. Of course it's true, Stink Moody. Stink looked at Riley. A noisy noise annoys an oyster, said Stink. Webster and Sophie cracked up. Ha ha, said Riley, but you're not an oyster, so how can I annoy you? Okay then, a noisy noise annoys a boister. Rotten Eggs versus the Shark Finders. Listen up, people, said Miss D. Is not for dungeon or dragon. She passed out maps and scavenger hunt sheets. Who's ready to be a detective? D is for detective, said Sophie. Miss Detective. Afraid not, said Miss D. But S is for scavenger hunt. Everybody got into teams. Our team is gonna be you, Stink Moody, said Riley Rottenberger. We're the rotten eggs for Rottenberger. Get it? I get it. The last one to finish will be a rotten egg, said Stink. He cracked himself up. Riley and the rotten eggs headed off. Let's be Team Shark Finder, Stink said. We can be the ones to find Sharkzilla on the scavenger hunt. Sophie shivered. Webster wiggled his loose tooth. Who's Sharkzilla? Don't you guys watch Shark Week? Stinks asked. Sharkzilla is a megalodon. He's like the world's biggest shark that lived around 10 million years ago. What did he look like? Asked Webster. He was more than 15 meters long, and he weighed as much as a house, and he had 250 teeth. They say he would be able to bite through a car. Yikes, said Sophie, but he's not real, right? He was. He was like a dinosaur shark, said Stink. They made a model of him for Shark Week, like a shark robot with giant chompers made of steel. He bit through a mini fridge, a jet ski, and a red couch in one bite. Webster felt for his loose tooth to make sure it was still there. Is he here? I wish, but I read that they have one of his fins here. It's 2 meters tall, and you can get your picture taken with it. This is a megla, not boring, said Sophie, but everybody else has already started the scavenger hunt. First, we have to find something that looks like a horse, said Stink. They followed the map, turning it this way and that until they came to a seahorse alley, a dark hallway lined with glass aquariums. There were spiny seahorses, pygmy seahorses. There were seahorses with fat tummies and seahorses that looked like they had the measles. What took you guys so long? Riley and the rotten eggs called. Looks like Team Rotten beat us here, said Webster. What's next? Asked Sophie. Next, we find something that looks like a bat, said Stink. They wandered past the sponge zone in the octopus garden. They gazed up at wolf eels and schools of sardines and senoritas swimming through the swaying fonts of the kelp forest. At last they came to Mana Ray Magic. In no time they spotted the Bat Ray. Na 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 na, Bat Ray, sang Stink and Webster. Bat Rays lose tons of teeth from crushing shells to eat stuff, said Stink. Just like me, said Webster. Riley walked past the shark finders on her way out of Mana Ray Magic. We are the rotten eggs, she said to them, trying to sound like a bad guy from a Batman movie. Learn it well, Stink Moody. It is the sound of your doom. Stink turned to his friends. Hurry up, guys. Now we have to find something that looks like a brain. Half the stuff in the aquarium looks like a brain, said Webster. Seals barked in the background as Team Shark Finder entered Nemo's Reef. Wall-to-wall fish tanks held colorful clownfish playing hide-and-seek amongst sea anemones and neon bright coral. One coral looked just like a floating brain. They all took a moment to gaze in amazement at the eerie, greenish, glow-in-the-dark brain coral. But Riley and her rotten eggs had beaten them to it again. What did one brain say to the other brain? Asked Riley. Stink shrugged. I'm going to outsmart you, Team Shark Finder. Clue by clue, the shark finders found a porcupine fish, a fairy penguin, and an electric eel, but the rotten eggs were one step ahead of them all the way. Last of all, they had to find something with 250 teeth that could bite through a car. Sophie looked at Stink. Stink looked at Webster. Their eyes grew wide. Sharkzilla, they yelled, jumping up and down. Suddenly, Judy came rushing up to Stink, all out of breath. There you are. Mom and Dad and I. You gotta go. Hall of Wonders, Stink. Not now. We just have one more thing to find in the scavenger hunt, and we have to beat the rotten eggs. Trust me, Stinker, you don't want to miss this. Okay, okay, but make it fast. Stink and his friends hurried after Judy, who led them to the Hall of Wonders. There, just inside the entrance, was a shiny, silvery, 2-meter shark fin. Could it be Sharkzilla's fin? Yelled Stink. He held both hands up to high five Judy. You won. Good for you, said Miss D, popping out from behind Sharkzilla's fin. You're the first ones to finish the scavenger hunt, and as a prize for finishing first, you win the Shark Fin Award. Miss D handed them shark fin t-shirts that said, I had a fin time at the aquarium. Stink rubbed his hand along the giant fin. Is this the real Sharkzilla's fin from the model built for Shark Week? One and the same, said Miss D. D is for dinosaur, asked Sophie. Hopefully wrong again, said Miss D, shaking her head. Keep guessing. Just then, Riley Rottenberger and her team came rushing into the Hall of Wonders. Last one to find Sharkzilla is a rotten egg, cried Stink. Beware the stinger finger. Is it time to go to sleep yet? Asked Webster. Not even close, said Sophie. Is it time for sharks? Stink asked Misty. It's time for jellyfish. The sleepover kids followed Misty past the wall of fish to the planet of the jellies. Mimi ran up to Sophie, clutching a red-haired mermaid. Her face was streaked with tears. Sophie's mom pulled Sophie aside to talk to her. In every tank, ooey gooey, creepy, deepy, blue blobs danced and glowed, zoomed and bloomed in the water. There were blue, green, and pink jellies. There were purple striped jellies and white spotted jellies. There were upside down jellies and rainbow colored glow in the dark jellies. I hope we get to sleep here, said Webster. Sleeping with jellyfish would be cool. Everybody knows you don't sleep at a sleepover, right, Sophie? Stink looked around. Sophie? Here I am, said Sophie, coming up behind them. Hey, what's wrong with Mimi? Asked Stink. She got scared and won't go to sleep, so Mom has to take her home. Does that mean we have to go? Asked Webster. No, my mom talked to Stink's mom, and we got to stay with the Moody's. Phew, said Stink. Phew, said Webster. Too bad about your little sister, said Eagle Ears Riley. She probably couldn't sleep because she was afraid of getting stung by the world's deadliest box jelly, or whiplashed by a bat ray, or eaten by a tiger shark. Stink turned as white as a ghost shrimp. Check out this jellyfish, he said, changing the subject. It looks like a broken egg. The one over there looks like a plate, said Webster. Look at the one that's wearing a hula skirt, said Sophie. That was the egg yolk jellyfish, the dinner plate jellyfish, and the hula skirt jellyfish, said a man in a blue shirt. No lie, asked Stink. No lie, said the man. Everybody, said Miss D. This is Marco. Polo, said Webster. Marco is a resident jellyfish wrangler, said Miss D. Coolo, said Stink. Marco laughed. Welcome to Planet of the Jellies. Jellyfish are unusual because they don't have brains or bones or blood or teeth or fins. Over here we have the giant lion's mane jelly. Its body can grow up to 2 meters around and more than 2 meters long. Add its tentacles and it can be longer than a blue whale, the biggest mammal on Earth. Whoa, said Stink. It has a deadly sting. Sherlock Holmes even solved a mystery where the murder weapon was a sting from a lion's mane. Hey, Stink, Riley asked, would you rather get stung by a Portuguese man of war or an Australian box jellyfish? A Portuguese man of war sting is like getting struck by lightning, said Stink, and an Australian box jellyfish has enough poison to kill 60 people, so neither. Here comes the blue blubber jelly, said Marco. All the kids watched the eerie blue blob pulse to its own rhythm. It looks like a bell, said Sophie. Sea turtles love to eat these, said Marco. Do they eat the stinging part? Asked Riley. They sure do, said Marco. Guess what? People in China and Japan like to eat jellyfish too. No way, said Riley's friend Maisie. Yes, way, said Marco. I tried it once. Oh, what do they taste like? Asked Stink. Think of a rubber band salad, said Marco. Yuck, said Maisie. Someday you just might eat a peanut butter and jellyfish sandwich, said Marco. No way, said Stink. This red guy here is the bloody belly comb jelly. It lives in the ocean. If it swallows any prey that glows, the red helps to hide it from the predators. Oh, gross. It looks like a kidney or a heart, said Webster. Are you ready for a smack? Marco asked. Stink jumped back. Marco chuckled. I don't mean a slap, a smack of jellyfish. That's what you call a group of jellies. Here they come. A smack of jellies floated by like small spaceships. Don't they look lip-smacking good? Marco asked. Ew, everybody groaned. Look, they're all swimming upside down, said Riley. Invasion of the Mushroom Planet, said Stink. And that one has a blue belly, but button, said Sophie. That's his jelly button, said Stink. Good one, said Marco. The dark room was hushed while people watched the creatures float, swim, and sail through the water. Before I go, I want to show y'all one last thing. Marco put a hand into the tank and dragged it through the water. Some of the jellies lit up and glowed in the dark. They floated and tumbled and turned and danced, putting on quite a light show. See, you didn't know you had tickets to the Moon Jelly Ballet, did you? I read that jellyfish went to outer space, said Stink. Is that true? It's absolutely true. Thousands of moon jelly babies rode on the shuttle Columbia so scientists could study how they'd grow in outer space. Invasion of the jelly aliens, said Stink. The Jellians. So, who would like to help me light up the jellies? Asked Marco. No way. Gross. Are you nuts? Marco looked at Webster. Not me, said Webster. Even dead jellyfish sting. Stink raised his hand. I'll try. Marco showed Stink where to put his hand in the tank. The jellies lit up and glowed like a string of blue and white fairy lights. Moon jellies make the best night lights ever, said Stink. Night lights are for babies, Riley said. Stink gave her the stink eye. As he did, his hand brushed against a jelly. Ah, my finger. Stink pulled his hand away super fast. Did you get stung? Asked Webster. No, just cooties. Good thing only this finger touched it, said Stink, holding up the index finger on his right hand. Gross, jellyfish cooties, said Riley. Stink waved the jellyfish finger in the air. Stinger finger, he cried. All 6 of the fins backed away. I thought I wanted to be a pro smeller for NASA, said Stink, but now I want to be a jellyfish wrangler. I could change my name to Sting. Marco reached out to shake Stink's hand. Good to meet you, Sting. Awesome jawsome. When do we get to see Sharks? Stink asked. Follow me to Sharks Ahoy, Miss D called out. Cool, said Stink. Dun dun dun. He sang as they walked around the rotunda, past penguins splashing in the palace of ice, and up a spooky green lit ramp. They followed Misty into a glass tunnel that went right through the shark tank. Sleek, slippery sharks swam around them on all sides. Stink gazed in a silent awe of the monsters of the deep with their black, beady eyes, pointy snouts, and razor-sharp teeth. At last, Misty broke the silence. Here we have a shiver of sand tiger sharks. They're all teeth, said Sophie, shivering. That one needs braces. Sand tiger sharks go through over 3,000 teeth in their lifetime. They look mega mean like the great whites, said Misty, but they aren't really known to attack humans. Awesome, said Webster, fiddling with his loose tooth again. Just think, said Stink, if we lost 3,000 teeth and we got $1 from the tooth fairy for each one we lost, we'd have $3,000. Sharks have an amazing sense of smell, said Misty. Me too, said Stink. Yes, but could you smell 1 drop of blood in 1,000,000 drops of water? That's nearly 100 liters. No way, said Stink. And do you know sharks burp? Said Misty. They do not, said Rotten Riley. I'm afraid so. These sharks come up to the surface, gulp in air, and hold it in their stomachs. This helps them float. Burp, Riley burped on purpose. Do sharks have boogies too? Asked Anna. Shark snot? Said Riley. So who wants to touch a shark? Anybody? Asked Misty. The room fell super quiet. Stink will, said Riley. 3 of the fins started urging Stink forward. Snot after that, said Stink. You can touch it with your jellyfish finger, said Riley, since it already has cooties. I was only kidding, said Misty. Phew, said Stink. I thought you were serious. But if you did touch a shark, it wouldn't feel smooth. A shark's skin is sandpapery, like a cat's tongue. Misty, have you ever touched a shark? Asked Sophie. I have. So is the D for dangerous? You're getting warmer, said Misty, smiling. Just then, a spotted shark swam by. This toothy guy right here, said Misty, is Mr. Spock. Can you guess what his favorite TV show is? Star Trek, said Webster. Shark Trek, said Misty. Stink and his friends cracked up. Then they gave Mr. Spock a Vulcan hand salute. Sand tiger sharks feed at night, so who would like to go ahead behind the scenes and watch a shark eating dinner? Several hands went up in the air. Miss D pointed to Stink and his friends. Why don't you 3 come with me? The rest of you can head to the gift shop until it's your turn. I'm with them, said Riley Rottenberger, sliding in next to Stink. No, that's fine, said Miss D. After me. Miss D then led them to a catwalk over the tanks. From up there, they could see pipes and tanks and more pipes. That's our wave-making machine, said Misty, over the roar of the water. The sharks swim in a tank that holds nearly 23 million liters. Who knew Niagara Falls was up here, said Stink. Stink, said Riley. Would you rather go over Niagara Falls without a raft or fall off Mount Rushmore without a parachute? I'd rather watch a stuntman do those things in a movie, said Stink. Would you rather get bitten by a moray eel or chomped on by a tiger shark? Stink shifted from one foot to another, thinking it over. What's the matter? Shark got your tongue? Riley cracked herself up. I'd rather the moray eel bite the tiger shark, said Stink. Here's Ariel, said Miss D. She's getting ready to feed Mr. Spock. What does she feed the sharks? Sophie asked. Fish, mostly. They like bony fish and squid and skates. Ariel took a silvery fish from a bucket and attached it to a long pole. She stuck the pole in the water and smack. The shark attacked the pole, chomping down with its huge jaws, and presto, in the blink of an eye, the fish was gone. Mr. Spock gulped the whole thing in one big bite. Shark attack, said Riley. That was mega scary, said Sophie. Mega creepy, said Riley, but I wasn't scared. Mega awesome, said Stink. That was jawsome. Stink, Sophie, and Webster went to the gift shop before it closed. The shop had stuffed sharks and starfish, mermaid dolls, and robot crabs. Stink and his friends zoomed around looking at stuff. Stink, said Rotten Riley, would you rather be crushed by 2 tons of beach plastic or get sucked into the Great Pacific Garbage Vortex and never come out? Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I'd build a giant raft out of all the plastic rubbish and sail my way out. Riley ran off to check out the plush penguins with her fellow Finns. Psst, Stinkerbell, over here. Stink swiveled around and peered through a rack of puppets. Judy, can I borrow some money, Stinker? Wait, what for? For a Siamese fighting fish. They build bubble nests out of spit. Sorry, I'm all out of money, but I thought you had $10. Not anymore. I adopted a shark. I'm giving the money to the aquarium to help feed a tiger shark. Good thing, Judy said. I don't think a tiger shark would fit in the bathtub. Stink cracked up. I can't decide what to get, said Webster. A man-eating shark hat or a kit to build a model of plastiki out of recycled stuff. Plastiki, said Stink. What's plastiki? Asked Judy. It's a real-life boat that a crew of people built out of plastic bottles, said Webster. They sailed it across the ocean to Australia so people would stop and think about all the plastic that ends up in the ocean. Where? Said Judy. Sophie, what are you getting? Sophie held up a hermit crab habitat. The small tank had a palm tree and a bridge, a sponge, and a water bowl. A tiny crab poked out of the coconut shell hut. I got a real pet hermit crab, pinchers and all. She reached over and pinched Stink's arm. Youch, said Stink. The stinger finger is going to get you. What's its name? Asked Judy. Mr. Crab Cake, said Sophie. I had a hermit crab once, said Judy. His name was Harvey. He came to a bad end. Please don't tell that story, said Stink. I mean it. Tell it, said Webster and Sophie. Stink stuck his finger in his ears. Row, row, row your boat, he sang. Judy pulled Stink's hands away from his ears. Stink, I promise I won't tell your friends about the time Harvey, the hermit crab, was in my pocket and he went through the washing machine. Tsunami City. Judy zipped her lips. My lips are sealed. Franken squid. Stink glanced at the clock. Uh-oh. It was getting closer and closer to the sleep part of the sleepover. Miss D turned off the lights in the rotunda. Glow-in-the-dark stars were hanging from the domed ceiling, making it look like a night sky. D is for dark, Sophie asked Miss D. Miss Darkness? Miss D shook her head no. Miss D is not for darkness, took out her laptop, and projected some flames up on the wall. The flames flickered and popped and glowed. It looks like a real campfire, said Webster. Miss D shook a spray can and gave the air a few tiny squirts. I smell nature, said Riley. I smell Christmas trees, said Sophie. I smell toasted marshmallows, said Webster. It's pine forest mist air freshener, said Miss D. It smells like a real campfire, said Stink. Everybody sat in a circle around a virtual campfire, battery-operated candles. They pretended to roast real marshmallows over the pretend fire. Before long, Sophie started to slump. Webster's eyelids started to droop. Guys, said Stink, you can't fall asleep yet. You have to stay awake for a midnight snack at 10 o'clock. Waffles. Stink tried to think of something that would keep them awake. He saw a door just off the ramp to Sharks. Ahoy, that said keep out. What's behind that door? Stink asked Miss D. Don't you know? Miss D asked in an almost whisper. Tell us, everybody said, perking up right up. Tell us, tell us, tell us. This is a story about a creature who lived right here in this very aquarium. See that dark, empty tank? That was her home, once upon a time. Her? Who? Everybody asked. They called her Bloody Mary. She was a vampire squid. Oh, Bloody Mary had dripping red tentacles, glowing red eyes, and she lurked at the very bottom of the deepest, darkest ocean tank. She was a creature, the color of blood. Is this true? Asked Riley. Vampire squids are strange monsters of the deep. What do you think Bloody Mary ate? Fish? Asked Olivia. Shark meat? Asked Hannah. Hermit crabs? Asked Riley. Only if they were dead. Bloody Mary ate only dead and rotting things. Eyes and legs and tails and poo, carcasses and corpses, and snot and other gunk that sank to the bottom of her tank. Is that true? Asked Riley. Cross my heart, said Miss D. Vampire squids have two long filaments like arms, which they use to reach out and grab dead stuff floating in the sea. Then they slime it with mucus and eat it all up in one gulp. Stink, said Riley. Would you rather get squeezed by a giant Pacific octopus or get slimed by a vampire squid? Shh, said Stink. Then one night, they say it happened during a sleepover, like this one, asked Webster. On a night not unlike tonight, Bloody Mary stretched out her long filaments to grab some yummy fish eyes, and zap! She stuck a filament into an electrical socket outside the tank, and she was changed forever. What happened? Sophie asked. Franken squid. She grew 2 heads, multiple arms, and opened only one eye. True to her vampire nature, she began thirsting for the blood of the living and the undead. No way is that true, right? Asked Stink. Miss D shrugged. Her eyes glowed in the dim light. Who's to say? Then what happened? Searching for blood, she slithered out of her tank and across the slippery floor of Sharks Ahoy, where a group of kids were sleeping. Just as the kids were about to get slimed, they woke up and shooed her into a dark room, slammed the door, and locked it, trapping her inside. No one has seen her since she disappeared behind that very door. That's why it says keep out, asked Stink. Miss D nodded. D is for don't go behind that door, said Sophie, shivering. So if you see a red glow coming from under a door, do not open it. Bloody Mary is on the prowl, and strange things can happen. Like what? A chill wind blows, but no window is open. A phone rings, but nobody's there. Some say that on sleepover nights you might hear the ghost of Bloody Mary, the vampire squid, moaning and groaning. Stink shivered. Webster wiggled his wobbly tooth. If you look into her eyes, she'll turn you to blood and drink you up. The kids fell silent, unless Miss D went on. Unless what? Asked Stink and Webster at the same time. Unless she can say Bloody Mary 3 times fast. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, the kid said super fast. And that is the story of Bloody Mary, said Miss D. Now who wants waffles? Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Stink whispered one last time, just to be on the safe side. Looking for Mr. Crab Cakes. Webster took one last bite of his waffle. Sophie mopped up the last of her maple syrup. How can you guys even think about waffles at a time like this? Stink asked. A time like what? Webster asked. Hello, Bloody Mary. I'll never be able to sleep now. Not in a million years. Stink scooched closer to Sophie and Webster. Just then, Mrs. D made an announcement. It's been a great night, everybody, but this is a sleepover. Time to join your group or family. Let's all get some shut-eye. Stink shivered at the thought of trying to sleep in the dark with sharks, not to mention bloody you-know-who. One of our staff will be on call all night, said Misty. If you need anything, talk to the person at the info desk. Come on, Mr. Crabcakes. Time for bed, Sophie said. Then she yawned. Stink, where's your family set up? Not far enough away from that door, Stink said. Go up the ramp, turn left, and they're at the other end of the Sharks Ahoy. Suddenly, the aquarium felt a lot darker. Gurgling and burbling sounds coming from the tank seemed a lot creepier. Clumps of families and kids in sleeping bags were already asleep on the floor of Sharks Ahoy. Mom, Dad, and Judy were playing a game of Go Fish. Did you have fun? Asked Dad. Yeah, until Bloody Mary, said Stink. Bloody who? Asked Judy. Stink pointed to the keep out door at the other end of Sharks Ahoy. He told Judy all about the vampire squid. Creepazoidal, said Judy. Everybody snuggled down into sleeping bags. Mom and Dad were softly snoring in no time. Even Mr. Crabcakes was tucked away in his coconut shell hut. Night, Mr. Crabcakes, said Sophie. See you in the morning. I have an idea, said Stink. Let's all three of us promise not to fall asleep tonight. We can shake on it with our new handshake. New handshake? Asked Sophie. Hold out your arm like this. Stink held out his arm, wiggled his fingers on top of Sophie's, then slowly pulled it back. That tickles, said Sophie. It's a vampire squid handshake, said Stink. Can't, said Sophie, rubbing her eyes. I'm too tired. Me too, said Webster, yawning. Sophie fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. Webster took off his glasses and hunkered down in the bag next to Stink's. Webster, Stink whispered, but his friend was already fast asleep. The bluey green light from the shark tanks cast a ghostly glow over the room. A pointy-nosed tiger shark streaked by, eyeing Stink and showing off his jagged teeth. A smack of goosebumps, a bloom of goosebumps prickled up and down Stink's spine. What if the shark tank broke and all the sharks got out? He missed his own room with his very own race car bed, an Astro Toady, and his Spider-Man, not Baby Nightlight. He squeezed his eyes shut. He tried counting shark teeth. He tried counting moon jellies in the ocean. What if Bloody Mary reached out and slimed me? Judy, he crawled over and gave his sister a nudge. You asleep? Yes, I'm asleep, Judy mumbled. I can't sleep, said Stink. Try counting shark teeth. Tried, but now I'm afraid I'll have shark eating me dreams. So count pancakes. Silver dollar pancakes aren't scary. Stink counted silver dollar pancakes. Now I'm hungry. whispered Stink. Judy, are you asleep over there? No answer. Stink leaned over and gave Webster a nudge. Hey, Webster, let's play a prank on Judy. Webster rubbed his eyes and sat up. Prank? What kind of prank? A sleepover prank, said Stink, feeling better already. We could tie her feet together while she's sleeping. Do you have any string or rope? Nope, on the rope, said Stink. We could stick her hand in a cup of water, said Webster. What for? Asked Stink. To make her wet the bed. Yeah, said Stink. Do you have a cup of water? Webster looked in his snack pack. Have an empty juice box, some sachets of ketchup, and 4 bologna sandwich bread crusts. Hey, I know, said Stink, poking around in his backpack, and then held up a marker pen. Let's draw a mustache on her. They crawled over to Judy. Webster held a torch while Stink held out his marker. Judy stared. Hey, what are you doing? Nothing, said Stink. You better not be trying to draw a mustache on me, said Judy. Rat, said Stink. Judy pulled the sleeping bag over her head. Do you have any deodorant? Whispered Webster. Stink crawled over and got deodorant from Dad's wash bag. Okay, said Webster. Put the deodorant under her nose. Uh-huh. And when she smells it, uh-huh, it will make her sleep talk. Sleepwalk? No, sleep talk. Talk in her sleep. Stink crawled back over to Judy. He pulled back the top of her sleeping bag. He took the cap off the deodorant and passed it right under her nose. Judy swiped at her nose. She sneezed. Her lips moved. It's working, whispered Stink. Judy mumbled 4 words. What did she say? Asked Webster. She said, I heart Frank Pearl. My sister's in love with Frank Pearl. That's not what she said. She said, I fart prank girl. That doesn't even make sense, said Stink. They cracked up so bad it woke Sophie of the elves. What's so funny? She asked. Your hair is sticking up like a sea urchin, said Webster. Sophie mashed her sticky hair down. So what? She aimed her torch at the hermit crab tank. She put on her glasses and peered closer. Mr. Crabcakes. What's wrong? Asked Stink. Mr. Crabcakes. He's not here. Hasn't gone. Gone. She picked up the tank and held it out for them to see. Are you sure? Sure, I'm sure. He was right here in his little hut when I went to sleep. But he's not hiding under the bridge or in his crab shack or anywhere. We have to find him. Search party, said Stink. The 3 friends, torches in hands, looked in their sleeping bags. Under their sleeping bags, Stink looked all around Judy and Mom and Dad. Webster even looked in Sophie's sea urchin hair. Sophie turned her PJ pockets inside out. No Mr. Krabs. Hey, look, said Sophie, pointing to a trail of water drips and drops. I think Mr. Krabs left a trail. On hands and knees, they followed the trail until they came to a door. But it was not just any door. It was the keep out door. Bloody Mary, said Stink. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. I'm not going in there, Stink said. Well, don't look at me, said Webster. Besides, it says keep out. Mr. Crabcakes wouldn't go in there. Hermit crabs can't read, said Sophie. Judy, let's get Judy, said Stink. They hurried back to the far end of the Sharks Ahoy. Judy was asleep. Webster, get a ketchup sachet, quick, said Stink. Stink squirted ketchup all over his hand. He held his ketchupy hand in front of Judy's face. He whispered, yelled into her ear, Shark attack, shark attack. Ah, my hand. Judy bolted awake. Stink, your hand, what happened? Stink licked the ketchup off his hand. Pranked you. We got you so good. Roar, Judy growled. Now that you're awake, said Stink, we need your help. Mr. Crabcakes is lost, said Sophie. Our search party followed a trail of water drips. We think he crawled under the keep out door. We're afraid Bloody Mary might have got him, said Webster. Judy rubbed her eyes. If I help you have to promise to let me go back to sleep and not play any more pranks on me tonight. Stink held out his shark tooth necklace. Shark swear it. Judy Moody led the way to the keep out door. The low moo of a whale groaned in the background. She reached out for the door handle. Wait, whispered Stink. First, make sure there's no spooky red glow coming from under the door. Judy bent down to look. No red glow, Stink. She put her ear to the door. Shh, I hear something. Is it a phone ringing? Asked Webster. It's not a phone ringing, said Judy. Is it a moaning or a groaning? Asked Sophie. More like a humming, said Judy. Stink gulped. Webster went as pale as a moon jelly. Sophie covered her ears. Bloody Mary, they all screeched, huddling together like a waddle of penguins, but Judy was already turning the handle. A strange sound echoed suddenly in the dark. Ao, mo. Before you could say 1, 2, 3, squidoo. Stink and his friends jumped back, hanging onto one another. Let's look for Mr. Crabcakes tomorrow, said Sophie. Stink nodded. No way am I going in there, said Webster. Psych, Judy groaned. Got you back, Stink. That was just me. You spooked the goosebumps right off me, said Stink. Come on, Judy opened the keep out door, shining her torch left and right. Trays of bones, boxes of claws, jars of eyeballs. This looks like a workroom, said Judy. They followed the beam of light, searching under the table after table for Sophie's hermit crab. He could be anywhere, said Sophie. I hope a tiger shark didn't eat him, said Stink. Or a bat ray, said Webster. Or a giant octopus. Stink shook off a shiver. Maybe they're putting skeletons together here. Maybe it's a bazillion million-year-old mechazantho skeleton. What's a mechazantho? Asked Sophie. Giant prehistoric crab, said Stink. Hey, maybe it's a great grandfather of Mr. Crabcake, said Sophie. Suddenly, in the beam of torchlight, a giant pincher appeared. It seemed to reach out. Attack of the Japanese giant spider crab, cried Stink. He tripped over his own foot, knocking into Sophie. Sophie fell back and knocked into Webster. Her elbow hit him square in the mouth. Tooth, my tooth! Judy aimed her torch at Webster. He showed off the hole where his tooth had been. My loose tooth, he said, holding up a pointy little tooth. Hey, I can talk again. I bet it's at least 1/16th shark tooth, said Stink. You can put it under your pillow tonight, said Sophie. Does the tooth fairy stay up this late? Asked Webster. Sure, said Sophie. Just then they heard a sound, a purring sound, for real. Judy tilted an ear to listen. It's coming from over there behind that door. They tiptoed across the lab to another door. Sophie held her breath. Stink pointed to the bottom of the door. A ghostly red glow spilled out from the crack under the door and made their faces look Halloween spooky. Purr, suddenly. Judy, did you hear that? Don't go in there, warned Stink. There could be a killer shark in there, said Webster. I think I hear him grinding his teeth. Bloody Mary, said Sophie, holding on to Stink's sleeve. The three friends hung back as Judy opened the door. She took one step into the reddish darkness. She felt a little light switch. The beast purred again, louder. Stink shivered. Does anybody else feel a cold breeze? Just then, the light came on. Stink and Sophie and Webster could not believe their eyes. A kitchen? They were in a kitchen. A fridge purred. A microwave blinked. It's the lunchroom, said Judy. The fridge made a loud gurgling sound. Here's your vampire squid, said Judy, pointing to the ice maker. She opened the freezer, and a blast of cold air came out in a misty puff. And here's your cold breeze. But how could, said Stink. Meet Bloody Mary, said Judy. She pointed to the clock with glowing red numbers on the microwave oven. Bloody Mary is bloody microwave, said Stink. Judy nodded. Phew, said Sophie and Webster, plopping down in some chairs. Hey, we can make popcorn. Stink, are you nuts? Do you know what would happen if we got caught? No, what? Stink whispered. They let the vampire squid suck out all your blood, said Judy. Just then the phone rang. Stink reached to pick it up. Don't, said Judy, but it was too late. Hello? Asked Stink. There was no answer. Hello? Stink asked again. Still no answer. Nobody's there. Stink looked at Sophie. Sophie looked at Webster. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, all three shouted, racing out the door, down the hall, past Mr. Crabcake's great-great-great-great-grandfather, Mechazantho, past trays of bones and boxes of claws, out through the keep-out door, and back into the bluey-green night-light glow of Sharks Ahoy. Tooth and Claw. They were all out of breath by the time they got back to their sleeping bags. Stink's heart was still beating in his chest. Judy came up behind them and crawled into her bag. Sophie pulled her bag up to her chin. Sorry we didn't find Mr. Crabcakes, Stink said to Sophie. We'll search again in the morning. In the light, Sophie let out a yawn. Good night. Sleep tight, said Stink. Don't let the jellyfish bite. He tried to quiet his thumping heart, but Stink couldn't stop thinking about Bloody Mary. Hey, Webster, let's go brush our teeth one more time. Webster, look in the bathroom mirror. He stuck his finger in the hole where his tooth had been. Does it hurt? Stink asked. Nah, it just feels funny, but it makes me look so cool, like a bad guy pirate. Stink squeezed the toothpaste too fast, and it got on his finger. Then he scratched his nose. You have green gunk on your nose, said Webster, and it's snot. Snot. Hey now, I know how I can prank Judy for realsies. Come on, bring toothpaste. But she said no more pranks, and you promised. She said no more pranks tonight, but it's 1 minute after midnight. So that was last night. Besides, I had my fingers crossed. Judy was dead to the world. Stink squirted toothpaste on the tips of her fingers, then he blew on her face. Judy reached up to scratch her nose. She scratched her forehead in no time. She had ooey gooey green toothpaste all over her face. Judy's going to think she got vampire squid slimed, said Stink, pleased with himself. Finally, Stink and Webster crawled inside their sleeping bags. Even Stink was dog tired now. Dogfish tired. Webster put his tooth in the blue shark tooth fairy pillow. He put the blue shark tooth fairy pillow under his normal pillow. Night, Sting, he whispered, but all the sting had already gone out of Stink. He did not have to count sharks or pancakes or sheep. He was Z for zonked out. The next morning, Stink woke up to see sharks zooming around their tanks. He rolled over. Webster, you awake? Huh? What? Webster felt for his glasses and put them on. Oh, it's you. I thought you were the tooth fairy. He reached under his pillow and pulled out his tooth fairy pillow. He felt inside the shark's mouth. My tooth is still in here. And there's no money. Webster showed Sophie. Nada. Big fat zero. Don't worry, said Sophie, who was already awake. The tooth fairy just didn't know you were at a sleepover at the aquarium. Really? Said Webster. Trust me, I'm an expert when it comes to all things tooth fairy. Tooth fairy? Webster cracked up. That's what my little sister Mimi calls the tooth fairy. Just then, Judy sat up. Her hair was a bird's nest mess. Her face was a map of green polka dots. Measles, you have green measles, Sophie cried, on your face. Stink and Webster laughed their pajama pants off. What? Judy asked. She touched her face. Not one, not two, but three green measles fell into her hand. Judy jumped up and ran for the bathroom. I'm going to get you for this, Stinker. Mom and Dad came over, sipping cups of steaming coffee. How did everybody sleep? Dad asked. I slept all night with the sharks, and I wasn't even scared, said Stink. Good for you, said Mom, rubbing her neck. Dad rubbed his back. It must be 25 years since I've been on a sleepover, he said, wincing. And I bet you were never on a shark sleepover, said Stink. It's a first, Dad agreed. Judy came back dressed in clothes, not pajamas, with her face newly washed and scrubbed. I can still feel toothpaste measles on my cheeks. I'm gonna get you, Stinkerbell. And like a slippery, silent shark, you'll never see me coming. Judy bent down to put on her shoes. Ah, she yelled, kicking one off and hopping on one foot. You're a toast, Stink Moody, dead meat. What did I do? Stink asked. You put something pinchy in my shoe, didn't you? Judy peered inside her shoe. Hey, she said, then reached in and pulled out Mr. Crab Cakes, Sophie yelled, you found my hermit crab. Sophie scooped the crab up in her hand and hugged him to her. I thought you were gone forever, Mr. Crab Cakes. She kissed him on the shell. This wasn't a prank. All this time Mr. Crab Cakes was hiding in my shoe for real? Judy asked. I did not hermit crab you, shark's honor, said Stink. All's well that ends well, said Dad. Let's eat some breakfast before we leave, said Mom. I hear they make a killer shark fruit salad and jellyfish muffins, said Dad. Team Shark Finder, said Miss D at breakfast. What were your favorite things at the aquarium? The bloody belly comb jelly, said Webster. I have three favorite things, said Sophia the Elves. Goblin shark, fairy penguin, and Medusa jellyfish. She likes all things fairies, elves, and goblins, Webster explained. Megalodon shark fin, said Stink. Miss D, said Sophie. We never did guess your name. D is for dogfish? Nope. D is for donut, asked Webster. Nope. D is for doorstop, asked Stink. Miss D laughed. I hope not. We give up, said Sophie. My real name is Danielle. Danielle what? Danielle Danger Mouse. Danger Mouse? Asked Sophie. That's like the coolest name ever. Like the cartoon, said Webster. He's that mouse with an eye patch who gets attacked by robots and washing machines and vampire ducks. I knew it. You're like a secret agent spy or something, said Sophie. Can I make a comic book of you? Asked Stink. You could be a superhero mouse that fights crime with a supersonic jellyfish sting. I'd be honored, said Miss D. Mom and Dad came over to say goodbye to Miss D, too. This was such a great experience for the kids, said Mom. Thanks so much. Dad smiled at Sting, much better than any old doorstop or a cookbook, said Mom, winking. Dad shook Miss D's hand. You just shook hands with Danger Mouse, said Stink, secret agent, super spy. Guys, check it out, Judy said, running over to them. I got a fisheye camera at the gift shop. It takes real pictures, but they come out looking like you're in a goldfish bowl. How'd you get the money? Judy ignored the question. Don't you want to see what you'd look like from inside a goldfish bowl? Yeah, said Stank. Let's wear our t-shirts and take pictures with Sharkzilla. They all gathered in front of the 2-meter shark fin. Don't forget me, said Rotten Riley, jumping into the picture. Judy pointed the camera at them. Say Sharkzilla, Sharkzilla, they all said, smiling ear to ear. Hey, Stink, said Riley. Would you rather move in next door to Bloody Mary or live inside a giant clam? Giant clam any day, said Stink. Okay, here's one. Would you rather have a giant Pacific octopus for a pet or have a 2-meter dorsal fin from Sharkzilla planted in your front garden? Sharkzilla's fin, said Stink. No, wait, giant octopus. No, wait, Sharkzilla. Bye, everybody, said Riley. See you at school on Monday. They all wiggled their fingers and slipped one another the vampire squid handshake. Wait just a shark fin minute, said Stink. He waved his stinger finger in the air. I've got one. Would you rather ride on the back of a killer whale or go on a shark sleepover? Shark sleepover, everybody yelled.